Welcome to the Game On podcast. Port stuns the Blues at Marvel with a great comeback in the second half. Adelaide taken apart by a rampant Hawthorn. Where to from here? And is this clanger of the year the GWS goal that should have been? Let's get started. Welcome to the Game On podcast. My name's Pete, once again joined by Malcolm, and today's hot topic, Essendon implode again. Where to from here for Essendon?
I reckon Kane Corn subbed it up pretty well, where he started going through some of the Essendon players where there's just no reliability. You know, Jake Stringer, I think, has kicked 9 goals in their losses this year, and went through some others with just their lack of consistency, and to go from now where it looks like they're going to miss the 8 from where they were 6 weeks ago is quite incredible.
Got a little bit of an audio grab for you, mate. Let's have a listen to this one.
When are you going to change? When is it going to happen? Where you take yourself from an average team into a team that consistently plays finals, and you can handle the stage and you look the same every week. When?
That was Mark Thompson 10 years ago.
Yeah. It's very ironic,
amazing, isn't it? He has put it on the line back then. Haven't learnt from their mistakes, and it's going to cost them a final spot for the second year in a row. And the way that I've seen the graph tracking, they're exactly the same as what they have been in the last 2 years, showing promise, sitting in good positions, and haven't been able to finish it off. Don't know where to from here for Essendon. All right, let's move on to Sydney. Sydney slow starts. It's going to cost them, and it has cost them.
I was there on Sunday, and it was bizarre, Pete. There was a couple of things about that. Sitting with Pete Vasic. G'day, Pete. You guys listen to our show.
Yep.
Retro on the Footy Scrapbook page runs that. It's a good man, Pete. And we were saying, Sydney people, it's almost like it's the theatre event. Then sort of not there. It's not the footy side of things. It was quite. And as Western Bulldogs kicked a goal in the third quarter, 2,000 people were leaving or so a time.
Yep.
And I said to Pete at one stage, the Western Bulldogs, Darcy took a good mark down forward pocket end, far end.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you turn one way, I'll turn the other. We'll just roughly try and count
how many people are walking out,
leaving, and it was 1,500. And honestly, actually, in terms of getting public transport after the game,
it made it easy.
Yeah, thank goodness they had all left and that, so it was easier. But it was a different experience. Sydney were terrible, and I think that crowd only gets involved if Sydney do something.
They're up and down.
It was a weird atmosphere and a shocking game. It was,
absolutely.
Oh, mind you, I do thank Tom Harley for the tickets. I will say that.
Absolutely. All right. As you may have noticed, we've got a slightly different opening. We are going to have a bit of housekeeping for everybody there. We're just rearranging our podcast. We've had some feedback on the length of our episodes, just trying to shut that down a little bit, keep it a little bit tighter. So we've decided that on Mondays we're going to provide our flashbacks of our previous interviews. Wednesdays are now going to be our normal podcast day, and then on Friday we're going to play just the past player, past legends segment. And this week coming up, we've got Chris Threadgold, which is fantastic. So
Rat to have Threaders on board.
Absolutely. And if you haven't noticed, we have done a little bit more social media in the last couple of weeks. We do have a YouTube channel now up and running. Episodes are published there, and replays are obviously done via Facebook as well. So let's get into Around the Grounds.
Around the Grounds.
All right, we're going to talk, obviously, some hot topics with the AFL, but we're going to kick off straight away with Adelaide. Showed for a quarter and a half that they can match it with some of the best teams, but can't sustain it. The power running of Hawthorn was just impressive.
Yeah, I haven't seen the game. Not exactly shattered about that. Haven't seen any of it. But I've just seen a few briefly a few highlights of which were just basically Hawthorn strolling in, kicking easy goals. The lack of pressure from Adelaide was horrendous.
Absolutely. All right, let's listen to Matty Nix's press conference and we'll go from there.
Does it have a pretty sour taste?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. As good as they were, we were as bad in that second half, especially. That's probably as bad as we've been for a number of years, unfortunately. So we knew we had a massive challenge ahead of us, and we weren't up to it in the second half. We showed the plan coming in the first quarter. Had the game on our terms, challenged a team that are flying at the moment, and then weren't able to continue it. And that happens when you play a team that's got the confidence they do and are playing as well as they are. They put you away when you're not at the level, and we weren't at the level.
Matty Nix there talking about his frustrations about not being at the level, but this sort of goes back to what we played with Essendon, with not being, a good team and wanting to play finals. Yes, they have their issues when it comes to personnel, and I'm sure that's going to sort itself out over the next 12 to 18 months, but they're in a very precarious position at the moment as to how they've recruited for here and now.
Yeah, but also it hasn't sorted itself out. You've still got, and look, again, I'll harp and use the two as the examples, but I have huge respect for Lockie Murphy as a person, but it's farcical that he's played over 100 games for Adelaide, and I don't believe he would be on a list at any other club. Mm-hmm. Ruck, huge weakness since 2017, and nothing's really changed. That's my beef with Adelaide. And also, let's not only go.
Well, they are missing another big-bodied midfielder and a classy midfielder, and probably one key defender.
But we all harp on about the recruiting. What about the lack of development coaching, the lack of improvement? McHenry and Jones haven't hardly improved from day one.
They've plateaued.
And just there's nothing there. So there's lots of things wrong with Adelaide, not just coaching and in that regard.
Obviously, Adelaide taking it apart by 66 points. Is it a case of no standards that, you heard Mark Thompson talk about Essendon there, and you could apply that to two or three teams in that they just seem to be gentle, not go after, not ruthless enough. I think that's probably the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, but I think they rely on their top-end talent. Dawson and Rankin out. So probably their two best players out. Mm-hmm. And I think they do fall away. There is a lack of depth there in that way. But just the lack of pressure and just the way Hawthorn just strolled in, it was like they could have had a beer in one hand and kick the goal with the other was pathetic.
A pie and a pint, and away they go. So we'll sort of touch base with that one a little bit more and see what the reaction is for Adelaide this week coming up against Geelong, and we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, we move on to Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide fight back from 31 points down to put another top 8 side back to the pack, kicking 7 goals, 8 to 1 goal, 5 at one stage. Huge comeback. We'll listen to Kenny and what he had to say.
So pretty early in the week we knew what we were trying to do. When you play Friday, Monday's not that long ago. You're preparing for a game.
It's good to know that, heading into what you hope is another finals campaign, to sort of discover another sort of add string to the bow this late into the season.
I don't know. It always helps to have flexibility in your team. But I think what helps most is that was probably a finals type of football that we've got to get better at. And, we took it on in Melbourne, against a team sitting second on the ladder. It was good practice.
Obviously, Kenny there talking about Asava Radaglia moving up forward. What are your thoughts in that move? Is it delaying the inevitable? Do they bring Marshall back? Do they keep him in the side? Where to for Port Adelaide from here?
I think Radaglia has struggled down back as it is with just a lack of consistency, just almost brain fades and some errors of goals. He looks more comfortable up forward. Marshall's still injured anyway, so he gets another crack this week at centre half forward.
But if they had Marshall available, does he play?
Well, I think Radaglia plays instead of Dixon, at
Okay.
the worst.
Yeah, hadn't
So,
thought of that. Yeah, that's a pretty good point. Port Adelaide did have an extended break, only by a day or so, but does playing Carlton off of a 5-day break make much of a difference?
Oh, it certainly obviously doesn't help, but hang on. It's only 20. It's above your head anyway. So, yeah.
Professional sports obviously have these short breaks. Teams are not handling the bye week all that well. Do you find it? Do you think it might find it easier if they have the 5-day break rather than the 10-day break, 12-day break?
Who knows? Yeah.
It's
not like they're not. It's not like they're having to go to work.
Yep.
It's not like you can't do your rest and recovery and your beach and your spa and all that. So, yeah.
Obviously, Port Adelaide getting up there by 14 points. Just staying with Port Adelaide very quickly, is Dan Houston on the trade table to get another free agent, maybe Perryman to come in?
I wouldn't think so.
Are they rebuilding on the run?
Oh,
Or is it still that evolution of that they're just incrementally improving?
Yeah, I think in that way, I'd be very surprised if he's still not around next year.
Question without notice. Kenny Hinckley, is he the man for the job next year? Regardless of result, let's take the result out of it. Is he the man for the job next year? I know the result's going to play a part.
I think the results will decide that. So I think because he's been at Port so long, they're going to have to win at least one and probably 2 finals for him to keep his job for next year.
And that's a lot of pressure. That's for sure. Again, question without notice. Just flipping back over to Adelaide. Matty Nix again defends that he is the right man for the job. Is he the right man for the job? Realistically, what coach would get better results than Matty Nix at the moment?
I think it's so hard. We don't know and all that. And, it's like you think...
I know a tradesman should never blame his tools, but if he doesn't have the players that are capable to play at that level, it's not really a true indication of whether he can coach or can't coach. I think he's got the most out of this group, and I don't see any other coach getting any more out of this group than what he's getting, which means that they've got to improve their list to be able to show whether he can or can't coach.
Yeah, there's huge weaknesses in the list, and I've thought that. Yeah, I didn't have them Adelaide in the 8.
Well, I did, but I was under false.
Yeah, I think there's big weaknesses there.
And then on the flip side, we talk about West Coast and their open coaching vacant job. Who is going to take over that job? Because it's not going to be an established coach, or we don't think it's going to be an established coach. Are West Coast going to go out and handpick a select number of coaches to apply for that job, or is it going to be open slather and here's the job description, put your best foot forward?
I think they'll target people. I think they'll target who they want to interview.
Is it a case of West Coast getting a coach in to get them through this rebuild period and then go after somebody with a bit more experience? Possibly,
because I still think they're in for a fair bit of pain yet with their list as well.
Pretty scary. All right, let's move on to some of the hot topics. Tyson Stengel admitted to hospital after a night out after Saturday's game in Tasmania. Not a good look when you've just signed a contract to stay at Geelong. What are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, it's a bit bizarre. We've all got suspicions on it. But they've also said his drink might have been spiked. Yeah, I think we're better off to leave that one alone.
Yeah, fair enough. That's okay, not a problem. Carlton have now come back to the pack. This year's final series is set up brilliantly. It's up in the air. What are your thoughts, mate, on some of the pack trying to chase that elusive top 4 finish?
Oh, and that's exactly the word at the moment. It's elusive. Sydney. Imagine now if you'd said at the end of round 4 when Brisbane and Norton fall, what odds would you have given Brisbane to finish minor premiers? And at the moment, they are still a chance. Yeah, it's incredible. And it's,
Well, Sydney losing, 4 out of their last 5 games, and not in a pretty way either.
Although the 4...
Well, 3 out of the
3 of the 4 have been close. Yeah.
10 points.
The weekend was shocking. It's a huge test for them this week against Port. They get Rowbottom back, who helps a lot.
Yep.
with their physicality, but it's a massive test for
Missing
them.
Papley?
Yes, no doubt about that. No doubt. And look, Sydney have been lucky. They haven't had many injuries this year, and then all of a sudden they've got a few.
Yep.
I think there were some worrying signs for Sunday that Parker the game looked like it had gone past him. Now, hopefully it's an aberration, but he just, watching it was the classic of the footballer who's older that his body won't get him where his mind wants.
Yep.
So we've just got to wait and see on that.
Do you still back Sydney's structure, even though they're missing a couple of players? They get them back, obviously, maybe around finals time.
Hopefully.
Is it the case?
Yeah, that Sunday, up until the weekend, I was, they'll be fine. But Sunday was a real worry because they were terrible.
And the Bulldogs have found another level as well.
All of a sudden,
Is Lobb going back? Again,
he does look better. He looks better down back. He looks like he's yet another one of those guys who needs to run straight ahead at the ball.
Which is where you want Hilberberg for Adelaide to maybe just
play
last
him down
4
back.
weeks just to have a look.
Yeah.
He's a free agent, so who knows what might happen with that. Carlton sent a second please explain for Harry Mackay's late withdrawal from Friday night's game. It doesn't look good, does it? His eyes were rolling in the back of his head first time round. Then all of a sudden he pulls out last minute. They're saying, sniffly nose and sick, but it does worry me that was the reason why he did pull out.
It's smelly. Leave it at that.
All right. Well, then that leads me into my next point: is that the AFL fined the Brisbane Lions $40,000 for breaching their concussion protocols after the handling of Harris Andrews incident.
Yeah.
We haven't heard any more from the AFL or Carlton as to what's happened there. You're right. There's something that's not right there at all.
I think they've just got to have independent doctors for it all. I don't think you're going to win with any other way. Yeah. Yep. And it's at the moment, it does look like one rule for one and a different rule for others. And, there was the crazy bit of Port with the two guys at Lear and that collided and that.
In that Adelaide
I
game,
just think it's got to be independent doctors.
Yep. Yeah, I think that may be the way it's going.
Yep.
We could have played this one right off the bat, but Scott Pendlebury will play on after this year, but he's playing his 400th this weekend against Carlton. What an achievement. What can you say about him? His skills are just sublime. I think Nathan Buckley...
His vision, his balance.
Nathan Buckley put it well in that little promo that I think Fox Footy did, that he does the extraordinarily well.
Yeah, look, he's a champion of the game.
The ordinary done extraordinarily well.
Yeah, we get sick of the basketball reference, every turn, and imagine how many times that's going to come up Saturday night. We should run a book for that.
We should. Drinking game, maybe.
Yeah. But, he's a champion of the game. Whether I don't think they can go with him side bottom and Howe again. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Which one are you keeping out of the three then?
Pendlebury.
You are keeping Pendlebury. I think side bottom's just lost a step and Howe's almost in the same boat.
Yep.
Body breaking down a little bit, whereas Pendlebury hasn't broken down a lot over his career.
And there've been an elbow injury or something. It's not like it's a soft tissue injury and the body's falling apart. A collision injury, different again.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I did see a photo on, I think it was afl.com.au today, that they had a photo with Brent Harvey, Michael Tuck, Dustin Fletcher, Pendlebury, and Burgoyne.
And Kevin Bartlett was crook, unfortunately.
To play 400 games. You just don't see that anymore, and I don't think, a bit like the 100 goal a year kicker, we're not going to see that again.
Pendlebury is an outside chance to still knock off Boomer Harvey's record. Outside chance still.
Yep. I mean, what more can you say? A great servant for the Collingwood Football Club.
And the game.
There'd be 17 other clubs that wish they had drafted him because he's been durable over the journey. I'd love to get him on to just talk about all the different coaches he's had, because he's seen a few at Collingwood over the time.
He's just class, though.
And it's just unbelievable that he's playing 400 games. All right, let's move on with a couple of quick hot topics. Are the Western Bulldogs looking like the Bulldogs of 2016?
Well, they're a chance, aren't they? And especially the way the AFL final system set up now where you have that week off. So it's really, you've just got to be in form for a month. And that's what they were in 16. Who knows?
Yep. Harry Sheasel, 14 score involvements from 16 scores.
Yeah, incredible.
Might be the most underrated player of his age group. Look out for the future. He's going to be an absolute gun. How do North Melbourne manage him moving forward? Because
I think he's going to be their best paid player. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Well, no, we know that. But how do they manage expectation versus reality? Because North are starting a long way back.
Yeah.
He's going to have to go through a little bit of the pain, which we've seen in the last 2 years, but there's still some more pain to come.
Yeah, there is, but also they've just fallen short a couple of games. They've been pretty unlucky with Collingwood game. That snap at the end, if they get the 50, they win. The Melbourne game, so they could have easily won 4 or 5, and then we're going, well, there is progression. So yeah,
and they could have a breakout year like Hawthorn have had this year,
just
where
suddenly
everything just clicks.
And they have got some promising juniors. There's no doubt about that.
The rise of Jesse Hogan, him and Toby Green, are they the key to GWS going deep in the finals if they make it? Because again, if they make it.
But yeah, I do. They're the two key pillars up forward. They kick eight between them each game. They're around the mark.
Jesse Hogan having a breakout year. I think he's going to earn his first All-Australian. Now, he's been at 3 clubs.
Yeah.
Maturity has taken a while to kick in. Is it a bit of a snapshot of AFL players sometimes that it does take them a little bit of time to actually find their feet?
It's just be interesting to go through how many people, if the All-Australian finally occurs at their 3rd club. It'd be interesting to know how many of their...
Well, Stengel's probably the recent classic example of that, moving from Adelaide to Geelong.
After starting at Richmond.
At Richmond, yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's not like it hasn't happened before, but it is rare. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Do you see him winning the Coleman this year, Hogan?
He'd be the favourite at the moment.
Yeah.
So
he'd be up there.
Yeah.
Jesse rising
Draper.
Rising star nomination, Josh Draper from Fremantle getting the chocolates for the Rising Star nomination this week.
Pretty assured down back. He's pretty confident, pretty calm and composed. Yep, big future.
As a backman, you don't see too many young guys come in and step in and do their role brilliantly right from the get-go.
And as I said, I love his composure.
All right, mate, let's move on to some tips for this week. Huge games coming up, round 21. The Bulldogs v Melbourne at the Marvel Stadium.
I'll go the Dogs. But I like their two. I think in terms of for the future, Hagel and Darcy, they've still got Norton. Yeah, they look dangerous up forward. Hagel, he's
taken another step in the last 4 weeks.
Oh, he was good on Sunday.
4 weeks in a row now that he's actually stamped his authority.
Too. Yeah. He was probably the one. He was the guy who impressed me the most. Where I went, hey, he's a genuine chance to go from the good player to eventually become the superstar of which they can bank on.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Melbourne. What are your thoughts on Melbourne as to where they go from here? Because they're a team that's now slipped outside the 8 after promising so much. Injuries and everything's caught up with them as well.
Yeah, but I think we thought May and Lever, the pillars down their back, they're not going to get scored. Obviously, losing Petrarca, and Petrarca was in the best. He's in the top handful of players in the comp. Gawn carrying the injury, so
West Coast taking on the Gold Coast Suns at Optus Stadium. Is it a chance for the Suns to get a win away from home?
Yeah, I will. I'll go for Gold Coast away.
I'm going to go for Gold Coast away as well, but.
You don't trust them, though.
No, you don't. Yeah, I'm not putting hard-earned money on it, I can tell you right now. Yeah. Just briefly before we go on with some of the tips, what were your thoughts on the melee between West Coast and Freo last week? And it was an old-fashioned melee, wasn't it?
Bit of fun.
Absolutely.
Good fundraiser.
Well, it was a huge fundraiser for the AFL. 57,000 all up over the round for melees.
Sponsor the show with the fines.
Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe we have to go there. North Melbourne v Richmond at Marvel, mates.
I wonder which one wants to actually win out of it.
Which one can win?
I'll go North Melbourne.
I'm going to go North Melbourne there as well. Do you see Dusty staying at Richmond?
I'm not sure. I still think he might retire.
Okay. Yeah. We'll follow that up.
Yeah,
we'll probably ask that question the same over the next couple of weeks, but let's see how it all
I admit
pans out.
I haven't followed it up at all, but I might do that as well.
Cats v Adelaide down at GMHBA Stadium.
Cats.
Do you mount any case for Adelaide?
No.
None?
No.
Not one?
No.
No?
No chance.
What about the surface down at GMHBA?
Can they start now, Adelaide? Yeah, that's probably their best chance.
Fair enough. The surface down at GMHBA?
Well, they could always do what I did when I was coach at uni, knowing we were going to lose to Melbourne uni before a game, pinched a Guernsey from the opposition rooms, and we had one of our guys run on and calling for a count with 5 minutes to go. Melbourne uni didn't see the funny side in it.
No, well, neither would Geelong if that happened. Sorry, the surface at Geelong, is that a worry? Not for this game, but in general?
It's just hard to tell still yet.
Is it teething problems with the new grandstand that they need a year or two just to understand what's happening? Because a helicopter flying over it to try and dry it out isn't exactly
it's
the ideal situation, is it?
No. You'd expect there'll be a pit dug for drainage, even more
in
so
the off-season?
In the off-season, yeah.
Maybe not as much cricket being played there early on. All right, the big one, Carlton v Collingwood, or Collingwood v Carlton at the MCG.
I'll go Carlton.
Pendlebury's 400th.
Yeah,
Is it a case of teams can get themselves up for
They
that
will.
game?
They'll have a crack, but I just think their lack of, and DeGoey's still out, their lack of depth, I think. I'll go Carlton.
So do you look at Carlton's match against Port last week as a bit of a aberration?
Not so much an aberration, but I think getting Mackay back. Curnow and Mackay is totally different than just Curnow.
Very cool. Yeah. Port Adelaide and Sydney. Have Port got Sydney at the right time to start not only their premiership race, but with Sydney where they are at the moment?
Yes. After watching last week, look, there's also been rumours that they've been in a hard training phase and they'll get out of that. But geez, all of a sudden Sunday you had guys like Gordon who weren't missing a kick at the start of the year, were lacing the ball inside out between us two.
Yes.
And all of a sudden Sunday he had one shot and it went out on the full by 50 metres. It was just staggering. And we know how much sport's played above the years. If Port kick the first two or three, Sydney will panic again. And
Sydney's slow starts haven't helped them previously.
Yeah.
This one I'm really looking forward to. Maybe the game of the round, apart from a couple of other ones that are going to be ladder defining, which is the Giants and the Hawks.
Should be a good game.
It's at Manuka Oval, so it's not in GWS's home ground, so to speak. It is their second home ground. Hawthorn have got nothing to lose at the moment, and they're playing that way.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Hawthorn. I just love the footy they're playing, the speed on the ball, and they're irresistible at the moment.
Here's a real question without notice.
Yep.
If Hawthorn win this game and sneak into the 8 this weekend, do they stay there?
Well, you can't tip against them at the moment. They're the inside thing. And let's remember also, they blew the game against Port here. Port didn't win it. Hawthorn managed to grab defeat from the jaws of victory, where if they just played remotely smarter football, they win that game. And, premiership table's a tad different in that way.
I think they'll run the Giants off their feet a little bit. I'm sort of with you on that one there. Essendon v the Dockers. This becomes another huge game. We did obviously hear earlier about the Mark Thompson saying that when do they go? When do they go from that good team to a finals team? And at the moment,
you can't tip Essendon at the moment.
You can't, not with any confidence.
No.
We spoke 6 weeks ago going, do you trust them?
Yeah.
Do you not trust them?
And we were still a bit meh.
They beat Collingwood. We think, maybe.
Yeah.
And then since then, it's been downhill.
I'll go. Again, you can't tip the Dockers with any confidence in Melbourne either. But I'll go Freo.
Well, Freo are in some reasonable form. And being over in Perth, we don't see them as much. And we don't probably give them the kudos that
But
that
their
they
form
deserve.
still away in Melbourne has still been average. So
Is Essendon trying too hard?
Who knows? Yeah.
Again, you talk about it being
Errors
between the years. Yeah.
It's
very interesting. And to finish us off, St Kilda v the Brisbane Lions.
I think this could be the game of the round.
Okay.
But
It's at Marvel.
Yeah, I'll go Brisbane, but I do give the Saints Saints all of a sudden have played better, but then I do wonder, were Essendon that bad as well?
Yep.
So, yeah. Yep.
All right, coming up after the break, we've got the SANFL with Glenelg getting up over Norwood. We have the Super Netball Grand Final, Adelaide Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds are go.
And to finish us off, the swimming, the Olympics, some unbelievable results.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
A dents and scratches putting a dent in your day? Introducing Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide, your trusted solution for automotive woes. With over 2 decades of expertise, Roger Steen Crash Repairs guarantees top-notch service, restoring your vehicle to its former glory in no time. From minor dings to major collisions, our skilled technicians handle it all with precision and care, using state-of-the-art equipment and techniques.
Roger Steen Crash Repairs saved my car. It looks brand new.
Fast, friendly and reliable. I wouldn't trust anyone else with my vehicle. Don't let accidents slow you down. Visit Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide at 14 Penner Avenue, Glynde, for quality service you can count on. And here's a special offer just for our listeners. Mention this podcast and receive a $100 discount on your repair. Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide. Excellence in every repair.
All right, and we continue on with our Around the Grounds with the SANFL round. 15 games. Norwood going down to Glenelg down at the Bay.
Yeah, Glenelg way too good. McBean had a on day.
Did he ever? Was 6 goals.
Yeah, he did get a couple of free kicks, which I'm not even sure his parents would have paid him. Was a couple of bizarre ones there, but
well, Nord haven't got a good record
their record down at the
Bay.
Bay's horrendous.
Yeah, it's
but,
last what was it, 12 games or 7 or 8? I can't remember the exact statistic right off the top of my head. But
kicked the first 2 goals of the game, and really from about the 15-minute mark of the first quarter, Glenelg looked the better side.
Absolutely. Central's just getting up over North Adelaide in a tight tussle. Actually, most games until about half-time were pretty tight. But
they kicked 7 goals in the last quarter. The Dogs came from well back. So, yeah, that's a big result for them.
Where does that leave North Adelaide? Because, they're right on that top 5 spot at the moment, and they've failed in the last couple of weeks to take hold of that top 5 spot.
Both the Eagles and so all of a sudden, Adelaide are in the reckoning for 5th spot.
Yeah. It's a crazy thing. Have Centrals just got their mojo back?
I think they're...
Or is it a case of the opposition on the
weekend?
weekend?
I think they're better than the teams underneath. I actually think they're probably the most, in some ways, where Centrals are is where they should be.
Yep.
And they keep having a crack. So, yeah, huge respect for the Dogs in that way.
Absolutely. Sturt getting up over Port Adelaide. Again, Team Sturt were down at one stage. Not by a lot, but they were down a little bit. Port Adelaide were on the march, and then all of a sudden, Sturt went bang.
I might have been saying those words, come on, Port, which doesn't happen very often. So, yeah.
We might have to take a little grab of that. Yeah, that doesn't happen very often.
No.
There's a blue moon outside.
Yeah.
Must be.
It would have been a good result for Nord.
Yep.
But, look, Sturt, again, huge respect for Sturt. They keep having a crack, and
I've said it time and time again. Marty Matner has got them absolutely firing, and he's just recently signed an extension with Sturt, which I think is a great fit for everybody. And
where I like Sturt is you know what you're going to get, and they just present and have a decent dip. I think they have weaknesses up forward in terms of lacking a key forward.
Is it a case, and we could probably run this rule over a few teams, is that Sturt are a team that they're good and they're bad. Their in-between is very, very good, whereas some teams, their good is great and their bad is terrible.
Yeah,
and there's no in-between.
I think there's less. I think Sturt's consistency is better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we see Glenelg being that way this year, trying to back up from obviously last year?
Yeah, and I think Hosey getting injured for them was vital. So all of a sudden they haven't got Hosey, McBean and Reynolds. So one of those three gets the third worst backman.
Yep.
I think Nord probably didn't get their matchups right on Saturday either. So better off to have that now than later on.
And a Nord in that boat as well, with their best is unbelievable and their worst is not as good as we'd hoped.
Yeah. Hopefully that was a blip, but it's a worry not to kick a goal and a half a footy. So it's a huge, massive concern. So, wait and see.
Got to close that gap a little bit, and Sturt probably do it better than most. South Adelaide getting up over West Adelaide. Again, a great result for South Adelaide in their rebuilding process.
And also it virtually assigns Port Adelaide the wooden spoon. So that's a great result for footy.
Where to for West Adelaide, mate?
Disappointing.
They've had some strides this year.
They have, mate. Look, they're not going to finish. As much as it sounds mucking around, their aim was not effectively. We don't want to get the bloody wooden spoon again, so they have progressed.
Yep.
And that.
Yep.
And look, I still mucking around then about Port, but I still fail to see what the sides think they're going to gain
by going to the VFL.
I don't get it.
Well, we'll talk about that one in a second. We'll just finish off with the last game. Woodville West Torrens, surprise again, losing to Adelaide.
Yeah, Adelaide's side was pretty reasonable though. Again, it's while Crouch pulled out, they still look pretty. And I tipped them with saying because I think they're going to have enough AFL players available, and that's as simple as it is. If they've got enough, so they haven't got many top ups, they're pretty hard to beat for everyone.
So you've led me perfectly in because this week's rounds of matches are actually everybody's got a buy. So we'll talk about next week's tips then. But you've led it perfectly into is that will the SANFL change the rules to allow a little bit more flexibility for Adelaide and Port Adelaide? Because
but I think
will they stay in the SANFL past the next year and a half?
Where I still don't get the beef. They did change the rules. They got Adelaide got young Welsh. Port got Logan Evans, all of a sudden. So Nord have actually been disadvantaged there because they haven't had Logan this year, where really he should have still been a Nord player. Mm-hmm. So they did have changes which helped them, and yet...
Speaking of Logan Evans, he's been a real shining light since going into the AFL there.
And rap for Logan too, by the way. Yeah.
Can we see any more tinkering of the rules to maybe appease them a little bit?
Well,
because the AFL...
word.
Don't seem ready to accept Adelaide
they don't
and
want
Port into the AFL reserves as yet. I know there's a lot of water to go under the bridge, but can there be some sort of compromise? I know a lot of people will go, no more compromise. It's the SANFL, you play by our rules.
There's a fair few SANFL people getting sick of that. As far as I'm concerned, they're getting too much. I don't see why they had that extra player this year anyway. So it's effectively another one on their list. Now, I'm flabbergasted with and they're saying their top-up players aren't good enough and all that. Well,
that gets down to recruiting and development.
So, whether there should be more. But hang on, let's also remember, say Port. And Dixon's played SANFL this year. Well, his salary this year is more than the opposition put together. Yeah. So, hang on. What are we whinging so much for?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you see Port and the Crows staying in the SANFL past this current term?
I think it's very unlikely. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Whether, as I said, I still don't see what they gain.
All right, we'll stay with the SANFL very briefly. The Sturt fence debate. We did talk about it briefly last week, and we have talked about it with Chris Threadgold a little bit earlier tonight in our interview with him. Common sense has got to prevail here somewhere, surely.
For mine, I'm yet to hear one reason why it shouldn't be. I've made my point. I've been disgusted. It takes a fair bit to shock me of some of the tactics of the anti-fence brigade have been staggering. And, I just don't get it. For mine, it's just a no-brainer. There's still going to be plenty of gates, all that. Doesn't change anything. Just put it up, for goodness sake.
Chris put it very, very well. It was actually the council who were the ones that were pushing this, not the football club. It's a council asset. They're looking, obviously, to protect their asset as much as possible. But Sturt Footy Club spending around about $30,000 a year on temporary fencing.
It's not only the money; it's the labour. They're having to organise so many things with it. And look, they've got it down to fine art. They do it brilliantly.
Yep.
Can't the community just appreciate that? And just you're still going to have the gates. You're still going to have access. I don't get it. Unbelievable. Strike me pink, as KG would say. It's been unbelievable.
Well, let's stay on the SANFL. And you had the pleasure of being at KG's 85th birthday there the other night, a passionate SANFL man. Fantastic for KG personally, and strike me pink is exactly what most of us are saying. Your thoughts on that, mate?
KG is an ornament to South Australia. Look, I'm 61. I was KG's fourth caller on his first night on radio on 5DN, which I did speak to Sally about, and she was going to go home and try and find the book where KG's got a book of it written up,
right?
And that of his first night, and I said, yeah, I may have been the first person who got the G'day Champ to you, and I'm now 61, so we were laughing at that. And look,
well, on my memory of KG, I actually rang him as a youngster for a Father's Day promotion. My grandfather and won a electric razor, which he used until practically the day that he passed away, and that was going back 20 odd years past winning.
So I'm going back 50 years with him.
Yep.
Yeah. And look, I knew KG because I scored at Kenzie as a kid, so I mucked around with him and said, "You and Bob blew it with your two pork chops carrying on," and so a bit of fun there with KG. But look. Yeah, as I said, ornament the game, and Causey did a really good job of it as well, and pretty incredible, 85 and 76, and they're still both going.
And still one of the most popular sports shows on the on Saturday morning there, and good to get KG obviously back to 5AA. I think that's probably his home, isn't it? Yep. Just before we finished, did we sell a book to KG? Does he already have one?
He may have got that as a birthday present.
There you go. Fair call. All right, finish us off on the SANFL. Norwood sitting top, Sturt sitting second. Only percentage between them now. One more win for both of those teams, and they pretty much will guarantee themselves finals for this year. Glenelg and Central's sitting third and fourth, and Woodville West Torrens sitting fifth. North Adelaide and Adelaide are chasing them down at the moment. Only one win between them. Do we mount a case for Adelaide or North Adelaide jumping in?
Well, I think Adelaide on form, and all of a sudden, if they get Crouch back and a few more,
it pushes a few more around.
So all of a sudden, and if they finish fifth, I think they're dangerous.
Yep.
So
question without notice. With Adelaide not making the finals in the AFL, which we sort of knew a few weeks ago. But now it's 100% confirmed. Yep. Do they then look at bolstering that up to try and make finals this year and play a few more of those young ones through the AFL?
I think they should be playing that anyway, to have a look at some of the young guys through the AFL. That's probably been like Dowling and Nankervis. That's been probably the best aspect of Adelaide. So,
West Adelaide then sitting in eighth, South Adelaide ninth, and Port Adelaide finishing in last spot at the moment. Should be interesting. All right, let's move on to the netball. Thunderbirds are go. Saturday, the 3rd of August, 6:30 p.m. Be there or be square. After the Vixens win a 1-point thriller. Are we wary of Adelaide after beating them so easily last time? Are we wary of them?
Yeah, of course you are. Vixens the old nothing to lose mentality and all that side of things, but
and they've got a point to prove, don't they? You know, they did get comprehensively beaten in that major semi-final. It is a worry, but being home here in Adelaide, do we see the party?
Hopefully.
Yeah, going on there. The Thunderbirds, premiers back in 1998, 1999, 2010, 2013, 2023. Will we be adding 2024 to it? Hopefully. If you can't get there live, KO Sports and Foxtel will be showing the grand final, so definitely tune in on that one there. Let's talk swimming. Ariane Titmus, women's 400 freestyle gold medalist, now ranks up there with some of the Australia's best swimmers.
Yeah, and the McEwen as well, and O'Callaghan.
Yep.
And that. So there's been some great performances already, in the swimming. And Jess Fox also, obviously.
Well, you led me into that perfectly.
With the K1.
Ends her lifelong wait for Olympic gold in the K1, mate.
And Kate Brown with the cycling. So, 6 golds at the moment. Look, I will give the ABC commentator on radio on whatever morning it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been Sunday morning when I was up at 4 o'clock ready to go to the airport.
Yes.
Breaking news, Australia are on top of the medal tally. Let's call off the Olympics.
Yep.
And I thought, good on him. It was funny and it was good. So, yeah.
I think we were there for a few days. So it's always nice. But, Canada did their job on Australia for a couple of bronze medal matches the last couple of games, but we'll talk about that one a little bit later. You did mention Jess Fox ending her Olympic gold in the K1. The superstar claimed victory in the final despite only qualifying 8th fastest. Jess's journey is 2012 silver, 2016 bronze, 2020 bronze, 2024 gold.
And
beauty.
hopefully another one to come in these games. Yep. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
In the event where she won in the last Olympics. So,
absolutely. All right, let's take a very, very quick break. When we come back, we're just going to promo the Chris Threadgold interview.
You're listening to the Game On podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
Looking to buy or sell your home anywhere in Adelaide, from the hills to the sea? Meet Gary Creeves, your dedicated local agent from Owens Casserly Real Estate. With unparalleled knowledge of Adelaide's housing market and a commitment to exceptional service, Gary ensures a smooth and stress-free experience for all your real estate needs. Trust the expert, trust Gary Creeves at Owens Casserly Real Estate. Your next dream home awaits. Contact Gary today on 0422 071 317 or on email garyk@ocre.com.au. And for more listings, please visit owenscasserly.com.au. Make it happen. We're going to promote the Chris Threadgold interview there, starting at North Adelaide there with 2 games and then moving across to Sturt. Unbelievable that Chris has joined us today and given us a little bit of background in how that all came about. Yeah,
quite incredible. Yeah, very honest by Threaders as well. And I probably should have worked that out earlier. But, Stoward is incredible that he's still involved heavily now.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's a Sturt legend.
Absolutely. All right, now to listen to that interview, we're going to be we're actually going to be playing that interview on Friday from around about 8 a.m. So check your local podcast providers, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, anything that you need to listen to the episode. We're just trialling a little bit of a different format at the moment, just to shrink things down a little bit and make them a little bit more manageable. So if you can, join in. All right, let's get into Happy Days.
Happy Days.
All right, let's kick off Happy Days with happy birthday to Yvonne Goolagong-Cawley.
Legend. Just, it seemed like very elegant to watch as a tennis player. The old wooden rackets back then, and not so much power game, but smooth mover. You could always see how massively respected she was as well too.
Yep, so, absolutely. Yeah. Yvonne Goolagong, born on the 31st of July, Australian former number 1. She was number 1 in the world and one of Australia's the world's leading players in the 1970s and early 80s. At the age of 19, she won the French Open singles and the Australian Open doubles championships. Later with Margaret Court. She won the women's singles tournament at Wimbledon in 1971. That's probably the one that we most remember, isn't it?
Agree.
Absolutely.
Yep.
She became the first mother to win Wimbledon in 66 years, Goolagong went on to win 14 Grand Slam tournament titles, 7 in singles and 6 in the doubles, and a few in the mixed as well. She represented Australia 3 times for the Fed Cup competition and the title in 1971, 73 and 74. Australia's always done well in team competitions, haven't they?
Yeah. Oh, but as I said, lovely lady and, yeah, ornament to tennis.
Absolutely. Just to finish off on Yvonne there, she was appointed member of the Order of the British Empire in 1972, and the Order of Australia in 1982. She was also inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame in 1985 and the International Tennis Hall of Fame in 1988. And most importantly, getting back to her roots there with the Aboriginal Sporting Hall of Fame in 1989. I don't think there's any title that she hasn't covered. I had the privilege of meeting her and coaching with her with a little bit of tennis back in the day. And, just an absolutely lovely lady. All right, let's move on to cricket.
Yes.
Graham Gooch, 1990, scores 123 to follow up on his first innings of 333.
Yeah. At that stage, that was a record and all that. Yeah, and that very good player, Graham Gooch. Interestingly enough, he started his test career with a pair against Australia.
That's a great statistic, mate.
Yeah, yes. But, yeah, one of the all-time greats for England.
Combined total of, I think, 456 runs over a test period. One game, it's huge. Yeah. What can you say? He's one of the stalwarts of English cricket. All right, let's move on. Talking Olympics this week, 2012, Michael Phelps becomes the greatest gold medal winner in Olympic history as part of winning the American 4x200 freestyle relay in London. Phelps, the 19th career Olympic gold medal and 15th overall career gold.
Incredible. Just, Phelps, Jordan, Spitz,
it's up there, isn't
Bolt.
It? Yep.
Legends.
It's unbelievable. I've seen a photo of him with all his medals around how he doesn't need a chiropractor or a physiotherapist afterwards.
Or a crane.
Yeah, exactly right. We move on to tennis. 1995, Monica Seles beats Martina Navratilova in her return to tennis after she was stabbed on court in an attack in 1993.
Still unfathomable what happened, and really she never got back to where she was. And
it's a case of what might have been. Yeah. She was certainly one of the greats of the game.
Horrendous.
Absolutely. And to finish us off in this week, 2021, we have talked Olympics before, but Australia swimming legend Emma McEwen claims gold in the 50 freestyle and the 4x100 medley relay for a total of 7 medals at the Tokyo Olympics.
And has now overtaken Ian Thorpe as our most medal-winning Olympian. So, yeah, one of the all-timers.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into the extra time big finish.
Extra time big finish.
All right, mate, I thought you might like this one here. Ricky Ponting for the cricket parts way with the Delhi Capitals after 7 years as coach. Is this surprising?
I think it's more surprising that you managed to stay 7 years as coach in India. If you don't tend to win in India, you tend to get the lemonade and SARS very quickly. So, yeah, look.
Do we see him coaching another IPL team or maybe making his way back to Australia to help out? I know a lot of these things are up in the air for a long period of time, but he's got a lot of IP that could be tapped into.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. That's what he wants to do, though. I'm surprised that he coached so much, considering young family and all that.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously doesn't need
the cash. Yep.
Yeah, it's not like he's struggling for pat cash. So, yeah, could be interesting.
I know no decisions have been made with the Saka job, but is it something that maybe the Saka should look at, or not really?
I think he'd be probably out of there. I would have thought he just wouldn't want the time commitment for that. You go over the IPL, their window, and bang.
Yep.
Even then, I'm surprised that he dedicated that amount of time, but I don't think he'd go longer time commitment.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to the NBA or the NBL. Talking Olympics at the moment, Josh Giddey has declared that the Boomers' crucial first-up win over Spain at the Olympics was a great full-team effort, but unfortunately going down to Canada today or late last night, sort of thrown a little bit of a spanner in the works, but they've got their final pool game against Greece on Friday.
Oh, it was considered the group of death to start with. People, in the basketball people, there were people saying that we could actually play very well
and not
win a game. Yeah, so it's not doom and gloom in that way.
No. Do we see Australia getting out of the group of death?
Still pretty doubtful. So wait and see.
They're gonna need to back up. Obviously, Canada do have a fair chunk of NBA talent on their list, so understandable, but probably could have been a little bit closer anyway. But good luck to them against Greece on Friday. And sticking with basketball at the Olympics, the Opals' opening game doesn't go as planned, losing to the bottom-ranked team in their group.
That was probably way more disappointing. And you think now they probably won't go past the group stage, where the Opals have been the stalwart and the standout for Australian basketball, always competing down to the wire in the Olympics, generally, playing off for that bronze medal.
Yep.
But you wouldn't think so. So it looks like it's going to be pretty disappointing there.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk a little bit of NRL very, very quickly. The South Sydney have continued their late season resurgence with a 48-28 win, almost some cricket scores there against the West Tigers. On the Central Coast is one of the most attacking games of the season.
High-scoring game.
Absolutely. Just a quick rundown of the NRL top 8. Storm, Panthers, Roosters, Sharks, Bulldogs, Cowboys, Seagulls, Dolphins. The Raiders just outside the 8 there, but the Storm again up the top of the line.
Always are, aren't they? Incredible.
Is absolutely crazy.
Especially in a non-rugby town as well, and how consistent they are. And
agreed.
Incredible.
It's one case study that you'd love to just sit on, be a fly on the wall, that's for sure. All right, let's move on to soccer very quickly. The Matildas torn to shreds in their Olympics opening game. Questions asked if they got too big for their boots in the 3-0 loss to Germany.
They certainly got hammered by a few people who have good credentials in soccer. It wasn't fly the Panthers, social media peanuts.
Yep. And then they come out in their second game to keep their dream alive after one of the most thrilling international football games in history. 11-goal fest, 5-2 down, come back to win. It's just one of the great comebacks. And Sam Kerr not being there, is this a big thing, or is this?
Oh, it's not
we've
only
got to
Sam
look to
Kerr.
the future?
It's not only there are other injuries as well.
Yeah.
So they've actually been pretty unlucky in that way. But 6-5 is that's a
5-2
crazy
down
score.
at half time.
Crazy scoreline.
Yeah, unbelievable. And just to finish this off on soccer, the Canada coach sent home after a drone was used above an opposition closed training session. I think it was New Zealand that they would. I mean, what are you going to garner from that? Seriously.
Heard it driving to the airport on Sunday morning, and Emma and I were pissing ourselves laughing.
To scratch your head. Yeah, unbelievable.
Yep.
We move on to tennis. Alex de Minaur withdraws from the Olympics in the singles. Not surprised.
No,
but he gave it his all to try and get himself right for the country.
He's
now in the doubles. So you've got to wonder, though, him not playing singles, huge, but then playing doubles, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, no, I'd rather him pull out altogether.
Yep. Yeah. Juicy second round clash between Novak and Rafael Nadal happened. Novak getting up on top. Yeah. It was a mouth-watering contest at the first bounce of the ball, mate. That was about it. Let's move on to a couple of general questions just to finish us off today, mate. Razor Ray hangs up the whistle. More experience gone from the AFL. Should he become the AFL umpire and director?
Personally, no. I think Razor's always been Ray about Ray. I don't mind his role in the media and all that. I think he's more suited there, personally.
Fair call. Reid retires from Sydney. Injuries can be a cruel part of the game, can't they?
I thought it was bizarre that he got a contract this year. I think he's been kept too long from Sydney, and that spot could have been better used on their list.
Well, they did keep him on the list for, his behind the scenes, almost like Adelaide are going to have to do probably for Taylor Walker.
Yeah, potentially.
Yep.
Potentially.
Will AFL clubs have the opportunity to trade players with standing contracts far more easily in the future?
I think there's still more
meat on the bone there.
Yeah, and
water
water
to
to
go
go
on
to
the
the bridge. Yeah, it'll be depending on the Players Association there as well. I think it's a possibility. It's a maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. And to finish us off tonight, mate, we'll get you out of here on this one. Formula One, Piastri runs second after another controversial finish. Will he become Australia's best ever Formula One driver? He's sitting fourth now in the Players' Championship. But, you know, will he become Australia's best driver? Potentially. Age is on his side. That's probably the best part.
Jack Brabham, though. Jack still gets my vote.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that, but I thought I'd ask the question anyway.
He still gets my McGarry medal.
All right, mate, we better wind things up there.
Yep.
Again, it's been a huge episode. Again, a bit of housekeeping for everybody. Our Past Players, Past Legends segment has now moved to Fridays. So please tune in for that there, mate. I thank you once again.
Thanks,
we'll
mate.
leave the good, the bad, the ugly for this week. But as per usual, we promise to do better.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, mate.
In this crazy world we live in, we all need the distraction. Enjoying the show? Like, rate, and subscribe. Hook up and connect with us on social media at SportsCast SA. We'll see you next time on Game On.